Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at construction on the Surrey Langley Skytrain project in late February 2025. Known as SLS for short, it's a 16-kilometer extension of the Expo line with 8 new stations. 6 of those stations are in Surrey, with the remaining 2 in the township and city of Langley. Costing $6 billion, major construction started in November 2024, with the planned opening in late 2029. While construction hasn't started at the end of the line yet, work is underway a few blocks down Fraser Highway. At the future Green Timber Station at 140th Street, crews are preparing for a major stage of construction. Fraser Highway underneath the station will be closed from April 1st to the end of October 2025. This will allow for the construction of the piles, columns, and beams that make up the core structure of the station, which straddles Fraser Highway. A detour will be in place down 96th Avenue to 140th Street, before returning to Fraser Highway. It's a complete closure, so no vehicles, bikes, or pedestrians will be allowed through while work is underway. Lane closures, curb removal, and changing of traffic signals has already taken place in preparation. The pavement has been cut and removed where the future station columns will be built. The area where the station entrance will be on the northeast side of the intersection has been cleared and is ready for the next stage of construction. Further along, a large crawler crane has arrived on site to help with the station and column construction. There's pile casings on site as well. Crews are assembling a large track pile rig that will be used to construct the Guideway column piles. Moving on to 152nd Street Station, construction is well underway. The 10 columns that make up the station structure are all in various stages of construction. One pair is just about to reach ground level. Next, forms will be installed to connect the above-ground column to the pile below. Workers are preparing to crane the rebar cage for the column into place. The next set already has its column rebar cages in place as crews prepare for forms. Another is wrapped in tarps as concrete cures. We can see a completed set, as well as one that has the forms for the crossbeam in place. When complete, these 10 columns will support the guideway that runs through the center of the station, as well as the platforms which will be on the sides. One larger guideway pile has been built on site as part of the testing program. The pedestrian bridge over 152nd Street has yet to start construction. It will land in this parking lot across the street when done. On the south side of Fraser Highway, the new utility poles and power lines are connected and in service. Looking east, the path for the guideway hasn't been prepared for construction yet. Since our last checkup in October, the site at Fleetwood Station has expanded to include the adjacent parking lot. Crews are using a tracked drill rig to construct the 10 station piles. Several piles have already been completed. We can see the pile casings and large rebar cages on site, as well as the auger bits used by the drill rig. A large crawler crane is used to move reusable pile casings into position. The casing segments are bolted together and then drilled deeper into the ground. They'll be removed just before or while concrete is being poured into the pile. On Fraser Highway, traffic is down to 1 lane in each direction. It'll remain that way until the guideway is fully constructed. Looking west, the area north of the road has been cleared of trees, bushes, and some utility poles in preparation for guideway construction. At Bakerview 166th Street Station, both guideway and station crews are on site. In the parking lot east of the station, the large track drill rig is preparing to start a guideway column pile. Operators were checking over the drill rig to make sure everything was working correctly and that it was in the right position. Another crawler crane is here to help move the blue reusable pile casings and rebar cages into position. The guideway column piles are a larger diameter than the station piles. From here, the guideway crew will work east towards the ALR and 184th Street. All 10 piles for the station columns have been completed, with crews now working on the columns. The smaller drill rig will be disassembled and moved to another station. This pair of completed columns has blue angled pieces of steel installed on the top. These are what will support the formwork for the crossbeam that connects the 2 columns. Workers are preparing the form for installation. The site is littered with rebar cages and forms for the columns. The ground is being prepared for the next stage of construction. When complete, there will be the first of 3 new bus exchanges here. Leaving Bakerview 166, the Guideway will transition from the north to the south side of Fraser Highway. It will stay on the south side while crossing the Serpentine River Valley. But before we go there, let's talk about the gantries that will be used to build the Guideway. The overhead cantilever truss system, known as a gantry, is a self-propelled structure that is used to lift the smaller individual Guideway sections into place and hold them while they're glued together and post-tensioned. It's a tried and true method of Guideway construction used all around the world with many benefits. Unlike the original Expo line, which craned huge precast segments into place, which required lots of working room and ground prep for the cranes, the gantry has a very small footprint contained within the Guideway structure. 4 gantries will be used to construct the 16-kilometer Guideway. Launching this summer, one will head west from 152nd Street Station towards the existing Expo line. 2 will launch at Bakerview 166th Street, with one going west towards 152nd and the other across the ALR towards Hillcrest 184th Street. The last will launch east from Hillcrest 184th towards the end of the line. The 4,400 plus segments that will make up the Guideway will be built here at this new facility in South Surrey. The building is nearing 80% complete, with the roof being installed. Outside, equipment for the batch plant that will produce the concrete mix has arrived. The yard that the segments will be stored in is having the supporting structure for the gantry crane rails being built. When complete, and running later this year, we'll try our best to get a tour of the facility in action. Back to the river valley, major work is happening. Site preparation is underway for the Guideway piles on the west side. With soft marshy conditions, a suitable work surface must be prepared. Further east, a very large crawler crane is being used to construct deep piles, some of which will be 90 meters deep. Instead of using a tracked drill rig, the crane has 2 methods of piling. First, this yellow clamp is used to position the casing and then vibrates it into the ground. This works because the ground is very soft, so it sinks in easily while being vibrated. Then, when it stops moving easily, this hydraulically driven impact hammer is used to finish driving the pile into the ground. The numbers on the pile casings are measuring the depth in meters. Thick dunnage has been laid down to evenly distribute the weight of the crane as it moves across the work site. Traffic is down to 1 lane in each direction and will remain this way throughout pile construction. Eventually, Operations and Maintenance Center 5 will be built here, but as we've recently learned, it will require at least 3 years of preloading to prepare the ground for major construction. The preload is expected to start in the second half of 2025. Climbing out of the river valley, the Guideway transitions back to the north side of Fraser Highway before arriving at Hillcrest 184th Street Station. Work is well underway on the 10-station piles. The tracked drill rig uses an oscillator to drive the pile casing into the ground. We can see how it clamps onto the metal casing while rotating and applying downward pressure to precisely place it in the ground. This size oscillator can apply up to 650,000 foot-pound of torque to the pile casing. By twisting the casing instead of vibrating or hammering, it's much less disruptive to nearby homes and businesses. The auger bit is used by the drill rig to remove material from inside the casing. The crawler crane can be seen lifting the casing into place a few minutes earlier. There are some completed columns with metal mounting points where the beam forms will be attached. Other columns have the rebar cages in place, waiting for their forms to be installed. Since last time, the site has been cleared of all remaining structures, including the adjacent garden center building. Utility works are underway in the closed lanes. It appears to be electrical in nature, as you can see the conduit in the open trench. Across the street, hydro crews are finishing up on the new poles and lines. Once again, we can see the old disconnected lines waiting to be removed along the path of the Guideway. This area has been cleared and is just about ready for Guideway pile construction to begin. All 3 stations that serve as launch locations for the gantries are in similar stages of construction. Halfway between Hillcrest 184th Street and Clayton Station, crews have been busy clearing and preparing the Guideway path for construction. Utility poles are being prepared for removal, while a good work surface is being placed for heavy construction equipment to operate on. Finally, thanks to help from many viewers in the comments, we've been able to locate the correct location of Clayton Station, helped greatly by the station-sized area that's been cleared and prepped. And this sign. While major work hasn't started yet, it's not too far away. There's a blocked-off street entrance to nowhere that's been in place for at least the last 15 years. This is where the future 192nd Street extension will be built and connect to the existing 192nd Street on the other side of these trees. Many streets in the area will be changed around in the coming years to a more grid-like pattern, allowing for better connectivity. A little further east at the laydown yard, more equipment is in place for construction, including rebar cages and pile casings. Willowbrook Station is still a ways out from major construction. However, the beloved White Spot building has finally been removed. It was taken down in October, with only bushes and an outline remaining. Nearby utility poles have been removed as well, with their holes backfilled. Another exciting development is that we now know the future Maple Ridge to Langley bus rapid transit line will connect here at the new major bus exchange. That is, assuming TransLink continues to receive funding from all levels of government and doesn't fall off a fiscal cliff at the end of this year and cut 50% of all bus service across the region. Check out movementybr.ca to see how you can get involved to #SaveTheBus. From here, the Guideway travels through the parking lot to align with Industrial Avenue before crossing the rail line and arriving at the final station. At Langley City Centre Station, cloth has been installed on the fencing to prevent prying eyes. However, there are still several accessible vantage points to get a glimpse of the work. Test piles for the station have recently been completed. Several pieces of pile casing can be found on site, as well as concrete and plastic pipes and conduit for utilities. Rock is being laid down to provide a work surface during construction. A large crawler crane is on site to aid in the piling process. The station contractor is building both the station and the last 250 meters of guideway here, as the design becomes more complicated with multiple switches and a wider footprint due to a center platform configuration. Anyways, that's everything for today. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.